My name is Shameka Parrish Wright. It's really nice to be in this space and to see a lot of faces that I know, and it makes it a little easier to talk about my story. And it's important to acknowledge that incarceration impacts us all, and hopefully through our stories you'll see how. With incarceration, to me, there's more starting points than there are end points. I think it's something that continues. It continues in my life. My father was incarcerated most of my childhood. Out of his 56 years, he was probably incarcerated close to 38 of those years, maybe 40. His brother, himself, and his older brother all attended my grandmother's funeral shackled. It's a vicious cycle that it still continues now that my brother is incarcerated. He's on his 8th of 10 years. My brother and I don't share the same father, but in a weird way, my father was around more than my brother or sister's father, because once he got out and made the decision that he wasn't going back, he stayed out and he stayed engaged in all of our lives. He offered so much wisdom, so many stories, good times and bad times, that my siblings looked to him like he was their father too. I would start back in 2014. I came back to Louisville after moving to Miami, Florida, because my father was sick. We shared the same heart condition as well as my grandmother, his mother's mother, and so on. But his heart had gotten worse. And so by me being his only child, I had to leave Florida. I didn't have to, but that's all I knew, is to leave. I'm all he had. And so I came back, and even though I came to Louisville 100 miles away, he understood that I had more of a family and support and resources here to build up. I was homeless. A lot of times mass incarceration adds to a lot of homelessness. All my life I've been homeless or almost homeless. I've been to 17 schools and 4 colleges. I've moved around a lot. And no matter where we moved, my father found some way to find us from inside. You can get a lot of things done inside the jail. And he would find us, and he would write me a lot of letters. And in those letters, I was so proud. I remember going to elementary school and taking this picture of him, and they said, he looks like a ghetto He-Man. He was so muscle bound, and that's back when they had a lot of access to weights and things like that. And so I was just so proud of him. I didn't know why he was in there. This morning, talking with Savvy, I didn't even understand mass incarceration or incarceration. I knew my father was in jail, but he was just away. It wasn't until maybe college that I understood all the nuances to that. So anyway, I come back and I said, what are we gonna do? He was always giving me plans. It was like he knew he was gonna pass away. But we had a 1.5 years before he passed away. He was found in his apartment, face down. He had been there 3 days. I was so mad at him a few days before because I was calling him to pick him up because my second daughter was graduating high school. And for him, because he was incarcerated so much, he was institutionalized, so he didn't like to leave his apartment. He lived in this apartment like it was a cell. He had a 1-bedroom, but everything was in the living room, still posters on the wall. My kids would say, why he have Beyonce and Rihanna and all these people on the wall? And I was like, that's just how Granddad sees life. And I did drag him to Florida one time, and he wouldn't even take his gym shoes off at the beach. I mean, he just was like, you don't leave your shoes. It stayed with him. So I watched that, my kids watched that, but I think the last 10 years of his life, he made that decision that he would not continue to let incarceration impact him, and he inspired me. He introduced me to hip hop. He introduced me to life. He told me how important it was to be street smart and book smart. And also now on Sundays, I get to be in the jails where I once was, visiting and doing art activities with the kids, and changing that space and letting it not be the space where we worrying about who Ray Ray was with before he got locked up. We are there and we're making things happen. And because of my father, I'm able to be here today. Thank you.